In this video, we're going to go over how to find the x and y intercepts of a linear equation that is written in standard form. So let's start out first with talking about what standard form is, and then we'll talk about how the x and y intercepts come into play. Let's do it. So, standard form of a linear equation is the third form, I think of it as the third form, of a way that you can express a line as an equation. So, we've learned to this point, if you've watched the videos in order, slope-intercept form, point-slope form, and now standard form. They're all ways, again, of showing lines or a linear relationship. So here, we're given that it's of the form a times x plus b times y equals c. And it's important to note that a, b, and c are integers, meaning they cannot be decimals or fractions. It's just the convention, it's the rule that we go by with standard form of linear equations. Now, what are they good for? We use standard forms of linear equations, or the standard form of a linear equation, to find x and y intercepts. What does that look like? Well, a y-intercept is any place where a line crosses the y-axis. So let's say I pick like a random point here, like down here. If you have a point down there, what's special about that point is the x value anywhere on the y-axis is 0. So I'll call this 0, comma, and you're used to seeing that as lowercase b, right? So any place on this y-axis, we know the x value is 0 because we're not moving to the left or to the right. Okay, now how about the x-intercept? Let's say I have an x-intercept, I don't know, here-ish. Well, that's going to be the point, and I'll call it lowercase a, comma, 0. So something that all the points on the x-axis have in common where we're going to intercept, cross the x-axis, is that the y value is 0. Because if we're on the x-axis, we're neither above it or below it, so the y value is 0. And that's very important with finding the x and y intercepts. So, here we have the problem itself. Find the x and y intercepts of negative 5x plus 2y is equal to 10. Now, when we go through this, I like to go through it formally and understand what's going on, much like I do a lot of the other problems that I show you, or all the problems that I show you. So let's find the x-intercept first. So we're going to be finding the point on this line right here, where this line crosses the x-axis. So I'll just say x int. The most important part with this, again, is that if we're finding where this line crosses the x-axis, we need to understand that the y value is 0. So I'm going to just kind of state that. So y is equal to 0, which means I insert 0 for y because we know that's going to be happening if we're finding the x-intercept. So I get negative 5x plus 2 times 0. Again, y is 0 is equal to 10. And all we have left to do now is to solve for the x value. 2 times 0 is 0. It's very convenient. Negative 5x is therefore equal to 10 is what we have left. And I solve this equation by dividing by negative 5 on both sides, just like normal equation solving. And we're left with a value of x is equal to negative 2. That is your x-intercept. So what does that mean? Well, it means in terms of our graph, and I'll put like a second graph, I'll put like a little mini graph right here, that we are going to intercept the x-axis at negative 2, comma 0. And you might say, why is that y value 0? Well, remember, we let y equal to 0 because we were aiming to cross the x-axis where y is 0. So negative 2, 0 is somewhere like right there-ish. So that means we know that this line has a point at negative 2, 0. Now let's find the y-intercept. So we're going to do a very similar procedure. The only difference is since we're on the y-axis, we're going to plug in where x is equal to 0. Nice. So I let x equal to 0, and now I do pretty much the same thing except x becomes 0. So I get negative 5 times 0 plus 2y is equal to 10. Sweet, I'm going to move over to this side so I don't come off the camera. So now from here I'm going to solve like normal. Negative 5 times 0 is 0. I'm left with 2y is equal to 10. And now I just solve both sides, right? Or solve for y by dividing by 2 on both sides. And I get y is equal to 5. So that 5 value, what that means again is when x is 0 on this line, y is equal to 5. So when x is 0, y is equal to 5. That's another coordinate. So we have 2 points, and that is the y-intercept, 0, 5, which is right about here. Now, why is that important? Well, if we were doing a formal graph, we have 2 points and 2 points determine a line. So all you need to do is put a line through those 2 points and you will have the graph of the line, which we weren't asked for, but I wanted to show you visually what's going on. So again, to find the x-intercept, rather than memorizing what to do, think about it. Think about visually where that is on the graph. We're crossing the x-axis when y is 0. That's why we plugged it in and solved. Where's the y-intercept? Like the x-intercept, we have another 0 value, but here, if we're on the y-axis, x is 0. And that's why we plugged in x equal to 0 and solved. That's it, peeps. A little intro into what standard form of the equation for a line is, and how to find x and y intercepts. Sweet.